Hello, hello, hello. It's your host Dre, and I'm back with another episode. So by now you've probably heard more information has come out about Miss Rhota Osman, aka Brick Baby. So, all joking aside, the reason I wanted to cover this one was simply because I feel it's necessary, because black men have been getting dragged the last week over this lady. And for those who don't know, just kind of to lay everything out, this will be essentially the last time I speak on this, and I also give my final thoughts on protection. Over this past week, what's happened has been she has failed to cooperate with the police. She has taken a TikTok with everything that she's allegedly doing. However, she never filed an official police report. And there have been people that have dug into her past and have found a pattern of behavior in which this is something that she does quite frequently, where she goes out, she instigates fights, and I believe the last one was there was something involving this security where she tried to blame it on 4 black men from a security company at a particular event that she got to. And in reality, what actually happened was she was popping off and some ladies put some work in on her. And you're probably asking yourself, like, Dre, why does this even matter? I feel it matters because of 2 things. One, as a black man, I don't really think that a lot of people comprehend that the state and its apparatuses and society at large can be weaponized against us at a moment's notice. And this case illustrates that. I will give her one little shred of credit in that, in all of the lies and deception that she has woven for her own financial gain, she did not actually go through with falsifying a police report and trying to, say for instance, pursue a fictitious brother and get somebody's life ruined that had nothing to do with anything. Kind of getting back to the rundown of things, there's been former friends of hers that have come out essentially confirming this is her MO. The GoFundMe that she set up reached over 40K, and she's done previous GoFundMes like this before. And what she's essentially done was capitalize on her victimization for her financial gain. And the big thing about it is, when it comes down to it, so many people got duped from a story that, in my opinion, it smelled from day one. Also, that lump that's on the side of her face, there was some digging done and found that it was not from, it was not from a blunt force impact, like say a fist or brick. She had an allergic reaction. She was treated for an allergic reaction at the hospital. So that in and of itself disproves the whole story. Also, there was video that surfaced of the brothers that she tried to shame in her initial TikTok, where people were speaking to them, and they essentially said that, yeah, we tried to help the lady. She comes out just saying that somebody hit her with a brick, and we were kind of like, okay, like, what's going on? Like, calm, like, you know, they expressed that they did call authorities. Also, the owner of the particular establishment that she was at, they checked their security cameras and said that there was no video of anyone being assaulted with the brick. So I feel very comfortable with those details to call Miss Rhota Osman a goddamn liar. The second part of this is because actually, I want to make this unequivocally clear. I love black women. And it's for the black women that I love in my life that when I see stories like this, that falsify information, that get people whipped up in a tizzy, that paint a picture of black men inaccurately and serves to create tension in the dynamic between black men and women, I have a big fucking problem with that. I feel that only hurts us as a people, and I feel most of all it hurts those very women that I care about, because should something actually happen to one of them, for those who know, it casts more doubts and aspersions on their particular stories, because we have people like this Rhota who are out there who are just straight up scammers. Let me be perfectly clear. I believe that black men and women do belong together. Not only that, I believe that we're two halves of the same coin. I don't know where some of these people get these ideologies that you can cleave black men and women apart and you can advance one without the other. The reality is we Siamese twins and we joined at the freaking hip. So if there's somebody speaking ill on my sister, if there's somebody who is doing wrong on my sister, better believe I'll be there with the smoke for them. And the same thing when it's somebody trying to demonize us as black men. The reality is, at some point, there's going to be a story. There's going to be a situation in which a black man harms a black woman. And I will say this personally, I will be there to speak and to condemn such actions, because that is the right thing to do. And I will address this one piece of this whole controversy that surfaced and actually led to a somewhat productive discussion throughout this whole thing, which is protection. I would say in terms of online commenters and takes and panelists and so on and so forth, you had a 50-50. Understand that when it comes to protection, and granted, you can take this as just me and my interpretation of things, there's not a woman in my life that's unprotected. Anybody who has proximity to me has my protection. So when a woman says that she's unprotected, what I'm hearing is I am uncovered. And then naturally my question becomes why? Because my mother, my cousins, my children, they're covered. And let me be perfectly clear. I have been in situations where in order to protect a loved one, if it had gone the wrong way, I might be sitting behind bars somewhere. So I am not blustering in the least. Even my friends, when we link up and we go out, if I'm going out with a female friend or whatnot, and like say for instance, like we just catching up at the work to get some or getting some lunch or something like that, I make sure that while they're with me, they're good. And when we go back, if I'm dropping them off at their place or wherever, I make sure that they are in said building before I leave. And for a lot of brothers, I know that they do the exact same, if not more, if not less. But the reality is this. So many were trying to shame those young brothers initially for not, quote unquote, jumping in and just standing by and letting this woman get hit with a brick. And and I will say that there is some inconsistency, because there's one guy who claims he was there and says he saw the brick, but given all the other information, I believe he's capping, because his story and account is the only one that doesn't line up with all the others and with all the other circumstances. So until I find the quote-unquote missing details there, I'm going to say that dude is capping, and he's doing something for clout, because it sounds like that was not a brick, was not an incident at all. Sounds like she had a bad reaction to something and used it to smear the image of black men. But back to the larger point with protection. Protection is an element of proximity. You don't get to go out and behave in a particular way and have reasonable expectation that random strangers is going to protect you. I don't even believe you really have reasonable expectation that random strangers is going to protect you. All the people that I just listed out, those are people who I have obligation to. So if I do take action in a particular situation and it goes horribly wrong and my life be taken, there's children down the father. There are men that's lost a brother. There's parents that's lost a son. There's aunts and uncles who's lost a nephew. There's cousins that's lost a cousin. There's friends that's lost someone beloved. And what you're really saying behind those types of sentiments is you have an obligation to protect me from my reckless decisions. And I say, no, I don't. I don't believe anybody has a responsibility to protect the individual from themselves. If you want to go out into public, into life, if you want to carry yourself in just a horrible manner, just to kind of use this lady for example, if you want to go out in the public, just randomly slapping people, recording it, making videos or all kinds of stuff, lying on camera, if you want to go out there, and I'm not even going to go into some of the other things that were found about this particular person. But you being if you want to conduct yourself in such a manner, but say that even regardless of the situation, even regardless if quote unquote this person was behaving in such a manner, every male body around them still had an obligation to jump in, that I disagree with. Nobody that has no connection to you has an obligation to protect you. That's for those who have traveled abroad. A good example would be, hey, if I travel to Mexico and I get in trouble in Mexico and I see an embassy and I say, yo, you know what? I'm gonna go up in the Nigerian embassy. Guess what? They ain't got an obligation to me. I ain't affiliated with them. And in the same manner, if you aren't affiliated to anybody who would feel so compelled to offer the most minimal of covering to you, unless there's some dire circumstance such as extreme death, loss of life, I think you really need to look in the mirror and ask yourself, why is it that I feel unprotected? Why am I unprotected? Why can't I get the protection of a man? And that's your answer. Because for you to speak on the women and the dynamic of the black society as a whole, I can tell you there is no quicker way to end up missing it in the back of somebody's swamp than to mess with the lovely lady in somebody's life. Put your hands on them the wrong way. Speak on them the wrong way. And that really is the biggest reason as to why I'm coming back out and kind of wrapping this up and offering my final thoughts. For so many, I know that a lot of those who got out front and ran with this story, I know a lot of them won't even acknowledge the details that came out as the story evolved, and they just would simply stop covering it. Those who actually have some integrity will acknowledge it. But this is the thing. There is no protecting the image of black men without black women, and vice versa. As I said before, we Siamese twins. We two halves of the same coin. So, as I've been saying lately, as with everything that you see, whenever it's something that's fostering discord, enmity, and strife between everybody, take a second to stand back and always remember to look up. Thank you. Hope you have a great one. Peace.